It's good to see you guys. I'll just wait a second. I have a cold. It came out of nowhere. And actually not out of nowhere. It came on slowly over the course of 4 or 5 days. And so yeah, just deal with that. Sorry. I'm just going to wait a second because I don't see my chat filling up, which is weird. Can everybody... There we go. Hi guys, this video is brought to you guys by Noble Gold and the Trump 2020 coin. They're a fantastic sponsor of mine and have been for a really long time. I have their coin, I have their bar. What you're looking at right now is the United We Stand combo, which is a 10-ounce silver bar and a 1-ounce coin. And it's absolutely beautiful. Seriously, you guys can go to TrumpCoin2020.com and use the code TracyBeans25 and you'll save $25. And they have a second edition Commander-in-Chief coin that just came out for $50 too. It's really pretty. That's just a girly thing to say, I guess. But anyway, check that out. So thankful for them. And let's get into the video. Sorry about my nose. Okay, so yesterday I was doing a Periscope about a thread that I had put up that I got from a source of mine who will not be named, and I never really do that stuff. I never really share anything that I can't tell you who it is who sent it to me, or even when I shared some stuff from Dennis Montgomery, I, forced him to provide me with documentation so that I could show it to you. And in this case, I am so comfortable with who this person is that I'm fine with sharing what they told me. And it's basically, there was some confusion about the thread. It was not me personally that went to DC. It was this source that went to DC and then met with all these folks. I'm not going to go over the thread again. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm not going to go over the thread again because it's available on Twitter and I put it up on Patreon as well. And I will put it in the description box and on the thread of this Periscope so you guys can read it again if you didn't read it. And then there's a Periscope at the end of that one explaining it as well. And just telling everybody that I get it if you're skeptical or you don't necessarily want to believe it, or you're like, yeah, whatever, lady, go, I get that. And that's okay. I'm okay with it, to be honest, because honestly, there's a lot of folks out there that share stuff like that, and I kind of just shrug my shoulders and walk away. So I have no, qualms about you guys doing the same thing. But I would hope that by now that we've been kind of together for this long, you would know that if I share something like that, it means something. And thank you guys in the chats for supporting me. I appreciate it. It's okay. Time will tell, right? I mean, that's the only thing I could say. I feel completely comfortable with the information I shared. So there we go. And one more point before we get into Brad here and the declassification. Sorry. As we're taking tips and information is flooding in from everywhere at Uncover DC. There may be a time when that happens again. And, like Brian says, the capital you function on in the news media is trust. Every time you lie to your readers, you lose that. Well, that's absolutely true. I just want you to know how seriously I take that and how important that is to me. It's so important. So if there's information, I'm going to pull a John Solomon and drop docs out there for folks. Okay. Anyway, so then as I was doing why I got off on this tangent in the first place, as I was doing this Periscope, yesterday, I saw people in the chat start saying, well, declassification's not happening. It was a complete lie. The president lied to us about the fact that he was declassifying all the documents, and everybody was, all upset about it. And, people were really pissed off. And I'm like, wow, where is this coming from? And then I figured it out. And I just wanted to go over this with you folks so that you understand that what is actually happening here. So Brad Heath is a reporter, in quotes, for, I forget what outlet that he reports for. Hold on. Reuters. Okay. And they had filed back in April, I believe, of 2017. Yeah. In April of 2017, they filed a FOIA lawsuit looking for all the FISA warrants that could have been, filed in the FISA court, and they were wanting them under FOIA. So they wanted this stuff all to come out. I have it here. Under FOIA, the complaint's available online, and they have been going through with this lawsuit for 2 years now, basically a little over 2 years. And there was just a reply to a motion that went on the docket on yesterday, and it was the government's reply to what Brad and the other defendants were claiming. And so I wanted to go through what he shared with you versus what it is actual, and show you why it was completely misleading and selectively edited. So here Brad says, this is the tweet that started it all. When the White House said President Trump had ordered the government to, quote, provide for the immediate declassification of Carter Page FISA documents, that wasn't true. That's a lie. Its lawyers subsequently confirmed with the White House that there was and is no order to declassify. And he's being very crafty in the way he's presenting this to you folks, okay? And I'm telling you this for a reason. He shares this excerpt here, which says, and a declassification order would be wholly unnecessary if the president simply intended to order disclosure, because the president has authority to declassify and disclose documents himself, and in fact has done so during the course of this litigation. Instead, there was a press release describing a direction to provide for immediate declassification. That press secretary's statement was followed by public statements of the president himself that he was not requiring declassification at this time, and it goes on and on. But the problem is what Brad decided to keep out of this, and that's where the real issue comes in. I'm going to find it for you right here. Hold on. I should have had this up and ready. I don't know why I didn't. Cloudy head. Here we go. He cuts off right to here. Is not, in fact, requiring immediate declassification and disclosure. And then the next sentence, which is just so key and so true, and so the key to all of this, that this reporter is misleading you on, says, the president has, however, delegated authority to the attorney general to determine whether these or other materials should be declassified. The court emphasized that the DOJ should provide clarification about what instructions they received concerning the declassification of the page's contents. Now, what that is saying is what happened. If you look, here is the statement from the press secretary on May 23rd, 2019. Today, at the request and recommendation of the Attorney General of the United States, President Donald J. Trump directed the intelligence community to quickly and fully cooperate with the Attorney General's investigation into surveillance activities during the election. The Attorney General has also been delegated full and complete authority to declassify information pertaining to this investigation, in accordance with the long-established standards for handling classified information. So now let me break it down for you guys really quickly. The reporter here, Brad, is arguing that because Trump said that everything should be declassified, that they have access to the unredacted Carter Page FISA warrant or a redacted warrant with, with specific redactions changed for FOIA. And they're just trying to get their hands on this, and they have been for years. It's in the midst of an investigation right now. So the whole purpose of this is for them to get their hands on any FISA warrants that are in there, and they're misleading the court, or attempting to mislead the court in their argument to do it. Donald Trump, it had always been that President Trump said, Attorney General Barr is now in charge of declassifying, if necessary, any documents that are necessary for this investigation. And at the time that this happened in May, I spent a good amount of time explaining to folks that declassification never meant public release. The declassification meant that other, law enforcement agencies could take a look at documents, etc. And that, Barr would have the ability to take care of that if he needed to. As a matter of fact, I pulled up a tweet from back then on the 30th of May. I couldn't find what I was looking for, but this is the one I pulled up, where I say, I understand a lot of folks took declassification to mean public release. It doesn't. It means that he declassified docs for law enforcement. Because people kind of freaked out, like, what does this mean? We're not getting what we were supposed to get. And they can't give you the declassified documents in the public sphere unless they are finished with investigation and they're no longer needed in those investigations, which, again, is one of the reasons why I'm constantly talking about how, especially now under a pretty stable Trump Justice Department for the most part, again, all of this stuff that's happening with impeachment and stuff is not coming from the Justice Department. With a pretty stable Justice Department, when a Tom Fitton or another attorney or another reporter complains about documents not being released under FOIA, and there are reasons for that sometimes, one of which is if they're being used in ongoing investigations. So I've talked about this quite a bit with you as well. But I wanted to show you where this all came from. And listen, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch. I think that they're a fantastic organization, and I really respect what they do. Trust me, I think they're fantastic. But this is the root of where this whole thing came from. DOJ confirms that it ignored Donald Trump's order to declassify Spygate docs. That is absolutely not what is happening here. The DOJ is defending its right to hold on to those documents and not just hand them over to reporters whose attorneys are misrepresenting what the president said. And somebody just said something interesting. Tom Fitton released a version of the FISAs, so by that logic, it means no criminal prosecutions. No, that's not true, because they're looking for not just the Carter Page FISA warrant, but they're also looking for, and the Carter Page FISA warrant was released with serious and pages and pages and pages and pages of redactions. You can release certain things redacted, but that's not what they're looking for in this suit. I should show this to you folks now. You guys can go to Court Listener or Recap, which is Court Listener, and you can find, without having to have a Pacer account or whatever, you can find these court documents here without having to pay for them, and my Pacer bill gets ridiculous. So I was very happy when this happened. And the complaint is right here from back in April of 2017. I can link this for you in the description box and you can read it. Basically, they're looking for any FISA warrants at all that were created on, and read this. The lawsuit is brought under the Freedom of Information Act and seeks the production of, to the American public, of information resolving whether or not there was an order issued by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court authorizing surveillance of and or collection of information implicating Trump as well as his campaign and transition team. Implicating them in what? This is 2017, this complaint, by the way, but I'm just saying, implicate them in what? Back in the day, it was conspiring with the Russians. I know I need soup. I know it's horrible. I hate a stuffy nose. It's just annoying. It's the worst thing. I can deal with a lot. Stuffy noses, not so much. Anyway, long story short, this gentleman, Brad, not sadly, I'm not surprised. He misrepresented what this was all about. And sadly, I don't think Tom took a couple minutes to understand what was going on. And I tweeted underneath here and explained it. Nothing has changed. The exact same declassification, quote, order stands today as it did back in May. And what that was President Trump giving Attorney General Barr the authority to declassify anything that he needed to in order to continue their investigations. And there we go. So that's that. Where did I have? I had one more thing. I think that's it. Yeah, no, that's it. That's really what I wanted to tell you guys today. I do want to talk about the fact that the New York Times began to out this leaker I talked about this in the Periscope as well. The New York Times put a little clue or two out there, and that's what caused this whole trending cancel New York Times thing to happen. And to be quite honest with you, my suspicion is that the reason why they're doing this is because of how poorly this backfired. I really believe that they are angry that this leaker did not have the right information. Oh, leaker, did I say? I'm sorry, whistleblower. My bad. I think that this whistleblower, in quotes, didn't have good information, and there was a barium meal fed to the whistleblower. That's just what I think. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I don't think that Donald Trump wanted all of this to happen, but I do believe that I don't believe we will get a vote through the House for impeachment. If they do that, I'm telling you, all of the things that you're seeing right now are frantic last gasps. Because if they thought that he was going to lose the election and they thought that he wasn't a threat to their power structure, then they wouldn't be bothering right now. So that's that. But all of this, if this goes to the Senate, there's a hearing. That means for the first time ever that Donald Trump will be able to call witnesses and defend himself. Let me tell you what will happen if that happens. The entire thing will blow. The entire thing. So I doubt they want to get to that place. In addition, if you guys have been with me for the several years that we've been together here, you'll know that from the beginning, people like me and Frank and Finch and you know, oh gosh, Brian and a lot of other guys were talking about how the DNC server, and you guys too, everybody was talking about how the DNC server and the supposed hack of the servers was the key to it all. And I did a bunch of videos on my page. I have a couple of Guccifer videos, Guccifer 2 videos that you guys can look at to understand how that tangled web all weaves together. But it is the linchpin of the entire Russiagate story. It's really at the core of everything. And then there are these other tangential storylines that go along. If you listen to Dan, you'll hear him say also the same thing, that there's the Ukraine story, there's the dossier that was written by Glenn Simpson back when Christopher Steele was, not even a glimmer, doing the FIFA case, and it was John McCain they were after. And there was also, speaking of McCain, a Volker, I believe his name was, who stepped down, resigned, was fired, whatever you want to call it, and he was at the McCain Institute, and the fake news, the legacy media, the bought and paid for corrupt, whatever they want to call themselves, that are irrelevant, even more so by the day, jumped to say that this gentleman was complicit with Donald Trump. And I'm like, what are you, crazy? This guy was a swamp rat McCain dude. He was at the McCain Foundation with Kramer, who was responsible for laundering the December memo and the dossier back into the United States, into the government. This is a bunch of swamp rat bureaucrats who think that they know better than the American people do. What we're living through right now is just going to get worse. And so I want to just make sure that everybody takes a deep breath, doesn't overreact emotionally to news and articles like Brad here wants you to, by lying to you about what's going on, completely lying to you. I mean, literally lying to you. I don't know how these people get away with this nonsense. I mean, you could just if you just read, it's a lot. It's legalese. Nobody wants to sit there and read this nonsense. Nobody wants to sit there and read this. Who, other than my crazy butt. You guys want to read this? Plaintiffs try and fail to invent a dispute of material fact. Plaintiffs cannot reasonably argue. It's boring. I like it because I'm weird, but most people don't. Excuse me. Most people don't. Who wants to read it? So he selectively chops just what makes his point look good. Just like they did with the transcript. Just like Schiff did with its objective fact is gone. Okay. Objective fact is gone. So I just want everybody to just hang in there. If you haven't read my thread from my source who went to DC to met with people that are involved in all of this stuff, please read it. I tell you to use your discernment in here because I don't know the people that provided this information to my source. But I felt like it was important enough and I trusted it completely because I know who the person is, to share it. And it might help you. Some of it's a little bit disconcerting. Some of it doesn't feel so good. The length of time they're going to need to be able to ferret all this nonsense out is a long time. That doesn't mean that they're not indicting anyone. It just means that the cases are going to take a long time, and it would be really helpful if Donald Trump could win in 2020 and have another 4 years to do it. Not that it won't start till then, but it would be nice if they could continue to do this throughout the next 4 years of his presidency. So that's what's there. We got this, I just have to say before I go, I got this information about 7 to 10 days before this, and we weren't able to share it. And so I kind of sat around and saw the news start percolating all of a sudden with the Ukraine, because a lot of people get angry when you say the Ukraine. I know it's wrong. The Ukraine is wrong. It's Ukraine. The Ukraine was back when it was part of the Soviet Union, I believe. Now it's Ukraine for at least 30 years. I've been lectured over and over again. So Ukraine, it all starts happening, and I'm like, oh my goodness, if I could have just released this like 2 days before all this, it would have, this here, I knew way before this Biden stuff started going on. According to our discussions, Ukraine was going to come into major focus because both sides of the establishment aisle got dirty there and left themselves exposed. It's a pathway to the Clinton machine, the Soros machine. Does that sound familiar? The neocon machine, the neoliberal machine, not to mention organized crime in both Russia and our own. And he says, no, this update was compiled on the 20th of September for reference. A bug knocked me on my ass, which delayed it going out. Well, thank you so much for sharing your bug with me. So that's that. If you guys, I hope you have a great weekend. I'm sorry. I want you guys to have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to keep sharing and stuff, but I don't want to keep sitting here lecturing to you or talking to you with this voice, because God bless you for listening to it this long. If you guys appreciate the work I do and you'd like to become a patron, I would be honored to have you. You can find me on Patreon and Subscribestar with my page as Tracy Beans. There's paypal.me/Tracy Beans. Or if you would rather support a brand new media organization that I happen to be running, you can go to uncoverdc.com and click on support, and you can support Uncover DC and our efforts to unseat completely the legacy swamp rat corrupt losers in the media who are complicit in one of the biggest criminal acts of our entire history, hands down. Stay strong, guys, because we're going to need every single one of us to be shoulder to shoulder throughout this. The disinformation, the misinformation that is going to be flying around is going to be insane. Discernment, take a breath, and we'll sort through it all together. Here's to craziness incoming.